Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Rambles. Tonight, I thought I'd sit down, chat with you guys, and talk about some stories from my yesteryears of childhood that I think are particularly interesting, not leastwise because they involve me, but because they involve wacky things that have happened to me with other people around. The first story I'd like to talk about is the time I went roller skating for the first and the very last time. I was in 8th grade, and we had taken a trip to the skating and arcade rink all the way up in the town above us. And when I say above us, I don't literally mean it was in the sky. I mean it was in a northwesterly, or is it northeasterly? It's somewhere north of where I live. And it was a pretty popular place. I don't know if it's open anymore. It's been a few years since I've been there, but I hope it's still open and can reopen whenever this whole pandemic thing is over with. It was a pretty fun place, even if I don't plan to visit it myself again, because, again, skating is hard, and skating is not my forte. So we were there, and it wasn't just me, it was like the entire class of 8th grade. So just imagine, like, tons of buses filled with teenagers, eager, excited, and ready for a day off of school. I think it was a prize or a reward for us doing our testing or something of that nature. I don't remember why, I just remember going. And we get in there, and everybody's excited to go skating. We all get our skates. My friend helps me lace mine up, and I have never skated before, but I'm eager and I'm excited to try. So I put on the skates, and I'm ready to go. And on the carpet portion of the rink, I was fine. I was going along, it wasn't too scary, it was pretty easy to move around, I was getting the mechanics down, and I thought to myself, yeah, I'm ready to go skating with all the other people on the skating rink. And so I get down on the skating rink, I tried to take my first step, and my feet fly out from under me, and I hit the ground hard, like woomph. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's fine, it's just the first time, this is going to be happening, you're gonna fall a few times, and then you'll get the hang of it. Nope. So my friend comes over, and she's like, hey, you want to hold on to my arm? Because I can see you having tons of trouble with it. And by this time, I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, I could actually use some help really badly. So I'm holding on to her, and we're trying to skate, and my feet are like, someone has put butter on these wheels, or the floor was just covered in grease, because I was slip sliding everywhere. I fell constantly, even holding on to my friend, and I took her down with me a few times, and like, she is an incredibly strong girl. Like, she could totally lift me up if she wanted to, and I was taking her down with me. That is how bad of a skater I am. God did not put roller skates on my feet. He did not intend me to go across a skating rink, apparently, because by this time we had moved around the rink to the other side, where there were chairs and stuff, and people were sitting down, and so I get into a chair, I'm sore, I am bruised, and I decide I've had enough of skating. So I just want to cut across the ring, go through the middle, and just be done with it. And I think to myself, this is going to be an easy operation. I say to my friend, you go have fun. You love skating, you go have fun. You've spent this entire time babysitting me. You deserve to go be by yourself and enjoy this trip we're having. I'll go play laser tag or something. And I did go indeed play laser tag after this. It was fun. I loved it. So laser tag I enjoyed. But back to the story. So I start out on my way, and I go 2 feet, and then I'm on my butt again. And this time, I'm just sick of it, so I try to get up, but what I don't see coming is this football guy, this football player. He's like turned around talking to his friends, and they're like all engrossed in their conversation, and I'm trying to get up, and they don't see me. And then this football guy turns around slowly mid-conversation, sees me struggling, and he's like, oh God. And he tries to stop, but he doesn't make it in time, and so he crashes into me. And we both go bound to the floor again. And he's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm just gonna crawl. I've just given up at this point. So I crawl on my hands and knees across this skating rink, to the amusement of everybody around. And like a few people are looking at me funny. Most of them are like trying to skate and enjoy themselves. One or two ask if I need help. And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm just gonna crawl. Don't take yourself down with me. It isn't worth it. And so I get to the skating rink at the edge where you can finally crawl up this little ramp to get back onto the carpet. And I take off these skates. And I am just done with myself. My hands hurt. My butt hurts. My knees hurt. I think I fell about 15 or 16 times. All in all, it was just an experience I would like to not repeat. And then I noticed that my hand was kind of swollen. So I put some wet paper towels on that to keep it from swelling up further. Thank God it wasn't broken or sprained. And I went to go play laser tag, which was a heck of a lot more fun, as I previously mentioned. And I loved laser tag a lot more, mostly because it involved me just standing around and shooting things in the dark, which didn't require me to have wheels on my feet. So I was pretty excited. Another thing that made laser tag really fun was that I'm short. Like, I don't know if y'all know that about me, but I am incredibly short. About maybe 5 foot, 4'9", somewhere in that range. I haven't grown an inch. And so I'm able to duck under the protective walls a lot better than the taller people who are playing with me. And so I'm able to like get shots off from behind walls. I'm able to hide better, at least for a little while, until the other team gets sick and tired of us like sniping them from across the room and they come charging across the floor to and at us. And we have nowhere to go because we had chosen a corner as our little tactical base. It was a massacre at that point, just us shooting the living crap out of each other until the timer ran out and everybody on the other team won. Somehow. Don't know how, but they did. I think I managed to get like a score of like 2,000, which I thought was pretty good for a first-time laser tagger. And then afterwards, I went out and decided, laser tag was cool, but there's a big line. I don't feel like getting back in. I'm probably gonna go play some arcade games. Nope. Those were all taken up. So instead, I kinda sat around and I think I talked to the guidance counselor of the time. Or maybe I talked to a teacher. I forget. I think I just ended up talking to people, all in all, until we left for Mr. Gaddy's afterwards, and I enjoyed myself a heaping plate of pasta, of sweet pizzas. I got some cheese sticks, tons of refills. We didn't get to play any Mr. Gaddy's games, sadly, but we did have tons of food, which made up for the experience. Goodness, that was a time and a half. And then, just to make it better, I think I'll tell y'all about the time that I went to fishing tournaments when I was little. Because my mom loves to fish. It is one of her greatest passions. She is excited about it. And so she tried to get me into it when I was really small. And when I was small, I was super excited for it because I thought it was a grown-up hobby. I thought I was the bee's knees. And so I was entered, or I don't remember if I entered it or if I just went to it, one or the other, this fishing tournament for kids down at a local river, some county away. I remember we got up early. I got all my fishing stuff. I had like this pink and purple fishing rod. I had a cute little tackle box with tons of little tackles that my mom had gotten and prepared for me out of her own tackle box. And we went, and I was fishing, and I was having a good time. And I threw my line into the water, and I felt this huge tug that almost kind of threw me off my feet. So I got excited because I'm like, oh, it's a fishy, it's a fishy. Except what little Leanne didn't realize is that with about 30 or 40 kids all lined up along this riverside on either side of each other, we were pretty close to each other. It wasn't a really well-planned event from what I remember, because everybody was all scrunched up. I didn't realize that the kid across from me and I had gotten our lines tangled. And so when I saw this kid on the other side of me jerk as I pulled back, I just thought that he too had gotten a fish on his line. And so he and I engaged in a fishing pole battle, where he would pull and I would go and I would pull and he would go, until finally I got fed up and I turned to my dad and I said, "Could you help me?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And of course my dad quickly realized what the problem was, so he said, "We're gonna have to cut the line." Because there was no way to salvage it at this point. Like, we had gotten it so tangled up, you could easily see the big knot. And I'm like, "But the fishy!" And my dad's like, "Well, it's either you go into the river or the kid across from you goes into the river and nobody gets the fish." And I'm like, "I'll jump in the river, Daddy." And he's like, "No, honey, you can't jump into the river. We don't know if the river current is strong." And so I'm like, "Oh, well, okay then." And so we cut the line. And then they decide, the organizers, that they want to start giving out the little things that they had brought. They are little drink cozies. I think they were blue drink cozies. And so my dad is like, "Hey, you want to go get one? They're like free. They're tossing them out." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I hand the fishing pole to my mom because I think they had adult fishing contests too. And I think that by that time it was like later in the afternoon. My mom was excited to fish, so we went to go get a drink cozy while my mom fished. And we go over there, and these guys are yeeting these drink cozies out of the back of a pickup truck. They had them in big cardboard boxes. There was a big old crowd, and they were just throwing them left and right. And of course, having a bunch of little kids all trying to vie for the same drink cozy, it got real rowdy. And I wasn't about to go in there. My dad wasn't about to let me go in there, so he had the idea to be like, "Hey, I'll put you on my shoulders." And my dad is a big old man. He's 6'3", and so he hoists me up on his shoulders. And I'm sitting there and I'm all excited, and we start waving, and the guys see us, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, we'll throw you one." And so they throw it, and it goes high in the air. And so my dad starts backing up, and I put my hands up, and I'm thinking to myself, that looks like an awful big drink cozy. So I like pull my hands apart, because up in the air as it was, I didn't realize that perspectives would make things bigger or smaller than they actually were. So I pull my hands apart a little further, and that thing comes rocketing down, and it just boings off of my face. And I'm talking, it just bonk. And I'm a little dazed, and I kind of go backwards off my dad's shoulders. He grabbed a hold of my legs, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, where's my drink cozy?" And my dad kind of looks around, and we see it, we pick it up, and we go back over to where my mom is, and my mama looks at me and goes, "What happened to your face?" And I'm like, "I got hit with a drink cozy." And she's like, "Why?" And I'm just like, "I don't know, they were throwing them." And Dad put me on his shoulders, and it was great. I was so happy, and my mom was less than thrilled, because I had like this big ring on my nose and my face. And I was fine. Like, obviously, I'm here to this day telling the story, but I just find it really funny, because it was just me walking around with this big old raccoon ring on my face, me almost getting pulled into a river. I don't know, it's just really special memories that I have as a kid of going out and doing things with my family. Because after a while, we kind of stopped doing that. Like, the older I got, the less trips we went out and took, because we got more busy, people got new jobs. We just had less and less time to start doing those kinds of things, and we kind of drifted apart a little. But those are stories for another time, I would think. But, I guess one story I could tell y'all is about my aunt. Now, my mama's got a sister, and this sister is one of the thriftiest women I've ever known. She is incredibly intelligent. She always knows where the best bargains and deals are to be found. And she tells me the greatest stories that I ever heard when I was younger, because we went over to her house all the time for movie nights and Chinese food. And one time I was in her room, and she was telling me a story about how a distant part of our family, way off in the distance of some relation to somebody else who was related to us through some means or another, you know how those stories go, was a psychic, and how that had been passed down through our family for the generations, and how this psychicness led to my aunt to run into some ghosts, particularly one that was living inside of her lampshade. Now, this is the way that this story goes. She was living in Ohio at the time, and she was living by herself in an apartment, and she had this lamp that one night, all of a sudden, with no reason or rhyme, started shaking and moving all on its own. And now my aunt is not a scared woman. She doesn't get scared easily. She likes to look at things and take 'em by the horns, and today, I tell you, that is exactly what she said she did. She told this ghost, this apparition, whatever the heck it was, to get out of her lampshade. And when it did not, instead she says it started shaking and moving even harder. And instead of looking for like a normal cause, like the air conditioner was blowing it, the window had been left open, there was something inside of the lampshade that could have been shaking it, no. My aunt said, "Okay, ghost, that's how it's gonna be." And so she goes and she gets a baseball bat and she beats the ever-loving crap out of her lampshade and her lamp. I don't know if she broke it, if she put it back together. She just said that she beat the ever-loving crap out of it, and that's the story as I know it and as I remember it. And that just is one of the funniest stories I ever heard, as much as it scares the living daylights out of me, because ghosts and goblins and spirits and all that stuff is just not stuff I want to mess with, because I have no defenses against it. I would be very easily, well, ghostified, as I like to call it, spookerfied, and I just don't mess with that stuff, because you just don't mess with it. That's how people get killed in all these movies. Like, you see people going to places where they hear there's ghosts, and they hear spooky noises, and they go to the spooky noises, and you're just sitting there like, no, this is how you get killed. Why does it always happen when you go to the spooky noises? It even happens when you go away from the spooky noises. We just need to stay away from spooky places and let people who are trained for this kind of thing handle this. But no, we decide we want to be brave. It's not bravery to get yourself spookerfied, people. Don't go and get spookerfied. Please, let professionals handle this. I don't know why I suddenly decided to go on a tangent of this, but I did. And now, for the grand finale that y'all have been waiting for all this time, I think I have finally managed to get the train to work the way that I want it to. Now, fingers crossed, guys. Don't know if this will work, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I hope that was as cool for y'all as it was for me to film. I finally figured it out. I finally got the tracks to work. I couldn't get the rest of the cars to go along with the train because most of the wheels on the bottom of the other cars are kind of messed up. But at the very least, the locomotive works. The clock tower, sadly, doesn't work either. I tried, folks. I really did. But it's just way too old. I'm sorry, y'all. But at least the engine kind of works and the light works and it's got the most annoying sound, so I'll probably mute that and hopefully put something over that that's a little less grating on the ears than the that kind of goes with the train. I hope you all have enjoyed this video, and if you like what I've done and want to see more of it, hit that subscribe button, maybe the notification bell too. And until next time, y'all, this is ErisaiXerxes signing out.